It was a quiet, almost peaceful morning in the remote forest when Sergeant James Pierce was called to duty. A veteran soldier of countless missions, he had seen things that most people could only imagine. Missions in war zones, heart-stopping rescues, and unimaginable feats. But nothing could have prepared him for the scene that awaited him in the heart of the woods that day. As James navigated the dense forest, he noticed a strange rustling in the underbrush. His instincts kicked in. This wasn't just an animal moving in the woods. No, this was something different, something urgent. He stopped dead in his tracks, heart racing as a huge brown bear stepped out of the trees. But there was no growl, no display of aggression. Instead, the bear approached him slowly, almost hesitantly, and then something unbelievable happened. The bear didn't just stop, it looked directly at him, its massive eyes locked onto his. The bear was asking for help. For a moment, James stood frozen, his hand instinctively moving to his sidearm, unsure of what to make of this encounter. This was a wild animal, an apex predator no less. But what he saw next defied all logic. The bear lowered its head, as if in submission, then raised its paw toward him. It was almost like the animal was pleading for help. James blinked, unsure if his mind was playing tricks on him. He had been in combat zones, faced down death countless times, but this was something entirely different. Bears didn't beg, animals didn't plead for human help, and yet here he was, standing face to face with a creature that seemed to be in distress. He took a cautious step forward, the weight of the moment heavy on his chest. Every instinct told him to be cautious, but another part of him, the part that had saved lives in the most dangerous situations, compelled him to act. Was this a trap? Was the bear pretending to be vulnerable, hoping for the chance to strike? Or was it truly desperate? James slowly lowered his hand from his weapon, feeling the intense gaze of the bear on him. There was no aggression in its eyes, only confusion, fear, and an undeniable sense of urgency. The question was simple. What had brought this bear here? And why was it asking for help? The tension in the air was thick, and in that moment, James realized that the bear wasn't just looking for food. It wasn't a typical wild animal encounter. This was something far more serious, and he had no idea what he was about to face next. Sergeant James Pierce stood motionless, his breath shallow as he locked eyes with the massive brown bear. For a moment, the world around him seemed to fade. The forest, the trees, the crisp air, none of it mattered. What mattered was the bearing of the animal before him, the strange urgency in its eyes. The bear had stepped forward, its massive form towering over James, but still no sign of aggression. The bear's eyes weren't filled with the usual wild hunger he had seen before. No, these eyes were filled with something else, a kind of helplessness, something human. James wasn't sure what he was seeing, but he couldn't deny the weight of the moment. The bear lowered its head again, as though acknowledging its own vulnerability. It was such an odd sight, an animal that was the epitome of strength now seeming to show weakness. This wasn't a wild animal acting on instinct. This bear was trying to communicate. Suddenly, a sharp pain pierced the back of his mind. He remembered a time in the field when he had made quick decisions based on instinct, decisions that had led to life or death outcomes. This was the same kind of situation. The moment was slipping by, and he needed to act. But how? The bear's paw extended again, closer to James now, as if gently reaching for him. The claws on the bear's paw gleamed in the light filtering through the trees. James's pulse quickened, but his feet remained glued to the ground. What did the bear want? For a split second, he thought of reaching for his weapon. After all, he was a soldier trained to handle dangerous situations. But this wasn't like anything he had faced before. In every battle, he had been prepared. He had always known what was coming next. This was different. He took a step closer, cautiously, keeping his movements slow and deliberate. The bear didn't flinch. Instead, it looked at him with an intensity that made James feel like this was no ordinary animal. The bear took another step forward, its massive head dipping as though it was trying to communicate something. Then, as if responding to James's unspoken question, the bear opened its mouth in a soft grunt, not the usual growl of aggression, but something far softer. It almost sounded like a whimper, a sound that sent a chill down James's spine. He took another cautious step, his hand instinctively moving to his utility belt. Was this a trick? The bear had now walked directly in front of him, its towering form so close he could feel the warmth radiating from its fur. The paw it extended was trembling slightly, the muscles in the animal's massive frame tense, yet still no aggression, no attack. The bear was begging. His heart skipped a beat. He had been trained for combat, to protect his team, to make quick decisions. But nothing had prepared him for this. The bear was a symbol of power, a creature that ruled the wild. Yet here it was, exposed, vulnerable. Its eyes seemed to say, "Help me." The very animal that most humans would fear was now pleading for aid. The soldier took another step forward, his hand hovering just inches away from the bear's extended paw. He could see the weariness in the animal's eyes. This wasn't just about hunger. This was a cry for help. In that moment, everything clicked into place. The bear wasn't here by chance. There was something deeper at work, something he had never encountered in all his years in the army. It wasn't just about survival. This was a wild creature in need, and he was the one who could help. Without fully realizing it, James found his hand moving towards the bear's paw. The bear's head dipped again, almost in submission, and its eyes softened. In that quiet moment, there was a bond forming. James's heart raced as he touched the bear's paw, an act that in any other situation would have been met with deadly force. But here, in the quiet solitude of the forest, it was a moment of connection. He felt the power of the animal beneath his fingertips, but also its vulnerability. Then suddenly the bear let out a low, rumbling growl, one of warning. James's instincts screamed at him to pull away, but he stayed still, watching the bear's every move. What was it trying to tell him? The tension between man and beast was palpable as James stood there, still holding the bear's massive paw, his fingers brushing against the rough fur. He could feel the pulse of the animal beneath his touch, strong, steady, but now surprisingly fragile. The bear was no longer just an apex predator. It was something far more complex. It was a creature in need. For a moment, everything felt frozen. Time itself seemed to stand still. The bear's eyes never left his, and in that silence, James could feel the weight of the decision that was unfolding. What was he supposed to do now? His military training had prepared him for countless dangers. But this was different. This wasn't a mission with clear objectives. There was no enemy to face, no plan to follow. It was just him and this bear, locked in an unspoken exchange. The growl from the bear broke the silence, low and rumbling. But it wasn't menacing. It was almost pleading. The bear took a slow, cautious step forward, and James instinctively took a step back, his military mind on alert. Could this be a trick? Was it trying to lure him closer, to trap him in a vulnerable position? But then something unexpected happened. The bear lowered its head again, and with a soft whimper, it nudged the cubs toward James. They were tiny, barely able to stand on their own, and they clung to their mother for support. They were scared, and in that moment James realized the bear wasn't just asking for help. It was trusting him with its most precious possessions. The cubs needed him. A shiver ran down James's spine as he realized the full scope of what was happening. This was no ordinary animal encounter. This was a plea from the wild, an unspoken message that defied everything he thought he knew about animals. The bear was seeking safety for her cubs. She was choosing him as the protector. The bear looked up at him again, its gaze steady and unwavering. It was as if it was silently communicating the gravity of the moment. This was not a wild animal looking for a fight. This was a mother, desperate to keep her cubs safe. He lowered his hands slowly, reaching out toward the cubs, and one by one, they timidly approached him. The warmth of their tiny bodies was overwhelming, and as he knelt down, he felt an overwhelming sense of responsibility flood through him. The bear, still standing nearby, watched him closely, but there was no hostility in her eyes, only a deep maternal trust. The bear stepped back, moving silently to the edge of the clearing, as if to give James space. She was still watching him, But now there was a new sense of calm in her demeanor. She had trusted him, and he had, in return, chosen to protect what she held most dear. James looked up at the bear, his heart pounding, and for the first time in his life, he felt an overwhelming sense of connection. This wasn't just about survival. This was about something deeper, something beyond the wild and the human world. This was about trust, protection, and the unexpected bonds that form when you choose to act with compassion. As he turned and slowly made his way back toward the safety of his cabin, the bear and her cubs following at a distance, James realized the greatest decisions in life aren't made with logic. They're made with the heart.